Okay guys, we're using OnShape here and we're making part 9, the cattle catcher. So let's look at it. Here's the cattle catcher. The way we're going to make this is we are going to make the triangle at the bottom and we're going to make a plane offset from that, make the triangle at the top and loft them together. So let's go to OnShape. All right, so we make a sketch, turn our thing. So let's look at the size. So the bottom of it we see is 1.8 inches wide. And then it goes forward a quarter of an inch. And then the overall depth of the thing is 1 inch. So we're going to make all right, so let's look at this. So what we do here, this is 1.8 inches. Now what I'm going to do, the other thing, and it seems kind of weird here, but I'm going to go from this point to that point and make that 0.9 inches. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm centering this thing up. Okay, now let's look at this. That should be 1 inch. Okay. Oh no, it shouldn't. It should be 0.25 inches, sorry. My bad. That should be 1 inch. Now this looks like it's a little bit leaning out just a little bit. It is. That pulls that in. I didn't make this line right here straight, so I had to use that second 1.8 to pull that in. So you should have 1.8 here, 0.25, 0.25, and then 1. And because I centered this whole thing up, now this thing is symmetrical. So that's why it's important to make this to here 0.9 inches. So that then I don't have to try to dimension these sidelines or anything with those. Okay, so that's the first one, sketch 1. Now I need to make another sketch. It's going to be a little bit smaller, and it's going to be on a plane that's offset from this. So I have to find which one of these. Plane. And I want to offset it, the height of this thing, which is 0.75 inches. So now you can see here that we have 2 planes. If you can see that, okay. And that plane was right here underneath the little comment thing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make the top of the triangle on plane 1. Front has the bottom of the triangle, plane 1 is going to have the top. So plane 1, let's look at dimensions. So it still is 0.25 here. It's 1.2 wide, and it's 0.75. We can see it down here front to back. So okay, and again, it's a little bit off there, but as we saw in the last one, it'll be fine. So now we dimension. Nope, not what I wanted to dimension. Zoom in a little bit. It's not wanting to dimension right. What are you doing? Dimension from there to there is 1.2. From there to the midpoint, just like we did last time, 0.6, because that's half of 1.2. Here to here, 0.25. Same thing there to there. And because that line is angled, we got to do the same thing we did earlier, which is make this 1.2 as well. Straightens that all up. And then there, I believe we said that's 0.75. Boom. So there's our upper triangle. Okay. Now, that's all done. So now what we need to do is we need to loft the two triangles. You can see them there. So we use our loft feature. Okay. And I want to loft this. I want to add there we go. You don't even have to add, just new face of sketch 1, face of sketch 2, hit the plus sign, and it's now lofted like it should be. Beautiful. Okay, now, so we've got the basic part of it. Now what we need to do is add the little pegs on the back. That'll put it into the train body, and this little design on the front. This design on the front with the with Inventor is the hardest part, so we're going to save it for the end. We're going to make the pegs on the back first. So these pegs are, let's see here. They are, I'm trying to look at their diameter. I don't see the diameter of them. Which dimension tells us? Oh, they're 0.125 inches. Tells us that right there. Okay, so each of those pegs is 0.125 inches, and they stick out 0.125 inches. Okay, so let's look at making these things. So first things first, they're going to be the center point of the pegs, the two bottom ones. We're going to make those two first. Is 0.275 inches from the edge of this and 0.125 inches up. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, so we need to make a circle. All right. Now we need to dimension it. We said they need to be 0.125. And it needs to be, what did we say? 0.125 from the bottom and 0.275 from the edge. Beautiful. Okay, so there's those two. Now we just need to make the top one. So the top one we can see is 0.625 from the side one and 0.625 up from the bottom. So we make another circle. We dimension it. Now we dimension from there to there. 0.625. And from there to there. It already was 0.625. Okay. And there's those three circles. Looks just like these. Now we just need to extrude those things out. They're extruded out 0.125. And then there's a tiny little chamfer. You can see 0.01 by 45 degrees on them. So let's extrude those out. And we want each one to be 0.125 deep. And there you see. Okay. Now, I like to go to a slight angle to do my chamfers here. So you can do a chamfer on this. And we can do, we want to do distance and angle. So our distance is 0.01 and our angle is 45 degrees. And you notice you really have to zoom in to see it. But again, it was pretty easy. So that was just a chamfer. Select distance and angle, and then type those in. Okay. So now we get the back of it done. So now all we have left is sorry, I keep turning it weird. Right here, we need to put this little shape in here. And that becomes, like I said, that's probably the hardest part on Inventor because just of the way that we have to do it. So what we're doing here is we are keeping a 0.2 or 0.1 inch border around the whole thing. Okay, follow me so far? So we're keeping a 0.1 inch border around the whole thing. And then it's going to go in, I believe, 0.05 inches is, I believe, how deep we're going to go with it. We'll see anything telling me otherwise on that. I believe it's 0.05 inches. So what we're going to do is zoom it in. We need to sketch on that face. And the problem is we need to rotate this thing so that we can square it up. But it'll be okay. Okay, what we're gonna do, so basically I just drew that. That's all I did. Now, we're just gonna go through and we're gonna dimension. So, from here to there should be 0.1. From here to here, so hold on, let me see here. From here to here, okay, so see how I took this point here, 0.1, 0.1. This point here, already 0.1. Just gonna lock that in. So you notice I'm just taking each point. It's not letting me do that one. Let's undo. Let's try that again. Let's see here. Let's try something a little different. And again, I told you this one I'm still, I'm still kind of playing around with these. I think, let's undo, let's get rid of this whole sketch here. Let's try a different one. Let's try a new sketch and see what we can do. So I'm trying this up here, trying different constraints. So we're going to try a parallel. So we're going to try making that and that parallel. We're going to try making that and that parallel. We're going to try making that and that parallel. And that parallel. So they should all be parallel. So now I should be able to go through and dimension point one. It was already at point one. So there's what I did. You notice, so I made that, I drew that shape out, and I used right up here this parallel. It starts with coincident, but we'll change it to parallel and make all those lines parallel to one another. And then we can finish that sketch. Now what we can do, we can extrude that shape right there, and we can extrude it. You see it's already coming out. So you can do negative 0.05 and it'll go in. So it's saying no. So we'll try removing it, and we'll try just doing 0.05. It's not wanting us to do it. And this is usually one of the things that we run into. This is always part of the reason why it's so difficult here. We never can get this to want to extrude in. And it's because it's extruding at an angle that it never wants to do it. So here we have it coming out, it's fine. But when we try to remove, oh, there, it did work. There you go. So now that cut that in there. Let's see. So now we'll do the same thing to this face, and then we'll be all done. So if you missed it, if you screwed up the other side like I did, then watch here. I shouldn't screw this one up as bad, but you know me. No promises. All right, so let's make our shape. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're not worried about dimensions. Okay. Now, parallel. Remember, right up here, that and that. Okay, got those all parallel. Now, remember, dimension each side. 0.1. Point one. Oh, poop. I didn't mean for that to happen. There. Let's try this again. No, I'm not sketching that. Remember me saying that hopefully I wouldn't screw it up as bad? Yeah. So, we made all these parallel. Now, thought I had my dimension tool on there. Just so you know, when it turns red, it's telling you that it already has that dimension in there. It's nothing, it's not going to mess anything up. It's not going to, screw anything up. It's just telling you basically that it already has that dimension. So now we extrude. Again, we select that face. 0.05. Remove. Hit enter. There it is. And there's our cattle catcher. Now, we are supposed to shell it. The shell feature on this OnShape program is not the best in when I was playing with it earlier, but we'll try it anyway. If you can't get it to shell right, don't worry about it. I'm not gonna worry about it either. It's more for the 3D printing part of it than anything. So you'd hit shell. Make it hollow. And the thing is, it's one of those like, oh, we shelled it, and you can't see it. So that's why I said there's really no point in shelling it. It's more for when we 3D print it so that it doesn't take up as much material. So there is the cow catcher.